back. We are back. Yeah, I mean, we were going to go live yesterday. It was a discussion that we had. We
Hmm.
thought about we're going to go live Sunday. Just wait till Monday. Jerry said just do it on Monday so we could both enjoy the Bears game. And I'm glad we did because it was I wouldn't have wanted to go live
Yeah.
because it was actually was for the first time watching the Bears in a while. It was actually a competitive game throughout the entire time. So it was fun, but yeah. So we're here today. We don't have Jerry, but I do have Jerry's national championship pick and kind of what he thought about the Bears season. So we'll talk about that a little later on. Um, we have firings in the NFL, which we assumed that Sean McDermott was going to be fired unless he won a Super Bowl. That happened. The Dolphins have a new coach who they have hired, so we'll talk about that. The hiring so far, there was 10 jobs total open. 7 of them are still open. So we'll go through that, kind of the waiting list period. The Raiders thing is kind of funky, I would say,
Yeah.
um, because it sounds like they're really now starting to interview people, but you had to go to Miami to talk to Tom. You're not going to Vegas, you're going to Miami.
Hmm.
So that whole thing is weird. The Lions hired an offensive coordinator who I don't think anybody knew who this guy was, the Cardinals offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Um, not who all the Lions fans wanted. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, a lot to get into. NFL playoffs, of course. National championship picks. We'll do that at the end. That is like 2 hours from kickoff, I think, down there in Miami, Florida, where Miami is the away team on the away side of the field, in the away uniforms, in the away locker room, in their home state. They also got paid $3 million for travel, but they don't have to travel, so they get
Yeah.
to pocket. Like Miami's making out in this playoff.
Yeah. Yep.
You
Yep.
know, people talk about Notre Dame making out in the playoff last year. Miami's making out this year
Hmm.
in the playoff. But so yeah, we'll have that a little later on. Excited for that game. It'll be very fun. But we'll start with I would say the biggest news of the day, just because it involves Josh Allen out of all things. Um, Sean McDermott fired by the Buffalo Bills. 9 seasons in Buffalo. He was 98-50 in the regular season, 8-8 in the postseason. You made it to the AFC Championship game only twice. Feels like they were in it more often than
Yeah, it does.
that. But only made it twice. Look, he basically got fired for not getting Josh Allen to a Super Bowl. I
It's
mean,
the
that's
it's the same thing that happened in Baltimore, I would say. It's kind of like you're not necessarily a bad coach, but we have to change something.
yeah,
Because we're looking at two quarterbacks in the middle of their prime. One not even making the playoffs, and then the other one losing to in the divisional round to a team some would argue is not as talented. That defense, that Broncos defense is amazing, and we'll talk about that in a second. But again, it's something has to change. I think Sean McDermott is a perfectly fine coach. I have enjoyed watching him for almost 10 years now, but something had to change because you are it's like the argument for all these quarterbacks is that you're just wasting their prime.
yeah.
With Lamar and Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, like all these guys, primes are being wasted because they can't. And I think this too is the most telling, and the reason a lot of these coaches are being fired because you're not running into the Chiefs.
Yeah.
You have a wide open lane to the playoff or to the Super Bowl now, and you still can't get it done.
Well, that's the thing too is, and if you look at it, we think Bo Nix versus Josh Allen, but it's really the Buffalo Bills versus the Denver Broncos.
Yeah,
And like you said, you compare defenses. I mean, the Broncos defense is by far way better
yeah,
than the Bills defense. And I mean, they almost broke the single season sack record. I think they had like 68 sacks or
yeah.
something on the season. And,
Crazy.
their defense is good. They're playing at home, but we just look at it as it's Josh Allen versus Bo Nix. Josh Allen should win that game.
And
We
also the leading rusher in the NFL with James Cook.
Yes. Yeah. That they feels like they never use either. That's the funny thing. So yeah, I mean, this feels very much like Tony Dungy with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in the day, where it's like,
Yeah.
look, you're a good coach. We know you're a good coach. You've helped us rebuild what is Buffalo football. He did that down in Tampa. But it's like, hey, we have these guys right now. You haven't been able to get it done. We're gonna have to move on and find somebody that we believe can. For the Bucks, it worked out. It worked out for both Tony
Yeah.
Dungy and the
Yeah.
Bucks.
Yeah.
They traded for John Gruden, won a Super Bowl. Tony Dungy goes up to Indy, gets Peyton Manning, and he wins a Super Bowl.
Yep.
And he's in the Hall of Fame. So
Yep.
I think this is very similar for Sean McDermott. I think he's a good coach. maybe it's good for him to go to a new place too. Theo Epstein, who was the GM of the Red Sox who broke the curse and the GM of the Cubs that broke the curse. He said I had to me it was like a 10-year rule. Like I'll be at a place for 10 years and then I want to move on. He goes, it's just a nice reset after 10 years. So, I mean, Sean McDermott's going to have any job if he wants it in the NFL. He could take a year off, do whatever he wants. He's a proven head coach. It's just, you know, and it could also just be sometimes he ran into Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs.
Yep.
And I mean, how many times did it happen to Peyton Manning with Tom Brady in the Patriots, or anybody, Philip Rivers in the Patriots? It happens. Sometimes you just run into those guys. But yeah, I mean, now you look at it and you have a very big job open. I don't know how talented the roster is top to bottom. For the Bills, their draft, these last 2 years has been kind of shaky. If you look at it, like Keon Coleman, he's got bricks for hands. Ridiculous. But I mean, it sucks for Sean McDermott because it's like you had your team in the game to win it, and Josh Allen plays the worst playoff game he's ever had in his career.
Yep.
So it's kind of like he was up for the snuff with the team. It's just your best player didn't play his best. So I don't know, but it's one of those things where, look, this is the new NFL too. It's like if you can't get it done, we have to move on.
Yeah, and I think I do, and I kind of feel for Sean McDermott because we got to remember that this Bills team 9 years ago was not good.
No, they were terrible. And Rex Ryan was their coach.
Yeah, and they've gotten he's built a culture there. He's built a winning tradition there. And not that he has to leave that behind per se, but that he has to go and do that again somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because if we look at, barring like a Ravens Steelers kind of situation, the other teams are not very good right now, which means he kind of has to start that whole process over. Now, would I be like blown away if like the Steelers or Ravens went after this dude? Not really. I mean, he's a great coach. I think now, even if John Harbaugh was still here, I would say that Sean McDermott is probably the best coach available right now that has been fired. What he did in Buffalo, we have to remember that this team was bad, really bad. And yes, of course, they get a generational talent like Josh Allen, but outside of that too, he built. I mean, the Buffalo defense for a while too was unbelievable. I'm excited to see where he goes. I would like it to be a team that has a little bit of momentum and not like a franchise that's just kind of totally stalled out, like Raiders, Cardinals, something like that. That would kind of suck. But like Tennessee or whatever, they have a bit of momentum. They got a young quarterback. He looks great. I mean, I'm excited to see what he does next. He's a great coach.
Yeah. No, I mean, so his first year with the Bills, they went to the playoffs, 9-7. In his first year, they were 6-10 the second year, and then made it to the playoffs all the other times after that. So, look, he's a good coach. He can build a culture. I was talking to Jonathan about this earlier because he was like, why did he get fired? I was like, one, he didn't get Josh Allen to the Super Bowl. And I said, two, in the NFL now, it's kind of turning into like the NBA. It's like it's not the player's fault, not the quarterback's fault. It's the coach's fault.
Yeah.
So that was the same thing in Baltimore. And that was the same thing with this one. It's like, look, we're believing in our quarterback, both MVP winners. They're still in their prime, haven't even hit it yet. Like of course you put everything behind them. But sometimes it's just, when you lose coaches like John Harbaugh and Sean McDermott, it's like, because I mean, one of the craziest plays is when Patrick Mahomes drives down the field on them in like 15 seconds.
Yep.
Any other team he plays, that doesn't happen. They go to the Super Bowl that year.
Yep.
But I think for him, it's one of those where it's like, Zach Taylor, I hate Zach Taylor. I think he's a terrible coach. But he beat the Chiefs and made it to a Super Bowl. Sean McDermott didn't with Josh Allen. And now in your own division, you have Mike Vrabel, who the longest tenured coach.
Yeah, I saw that. That's hilarious.
With only just over a year on the job. He has Drake May potentially on the doorsteps to a Super Bowl in his second year, and Josh Allen's been there 8 years and hasn't gotten there. So It's one of those things where it's like at the end of the day, good isn't good enough. We need to be great. We need to win Super Bowls. So it's just one of those crazy, crazy things. All right, let's get into some comments before we get here. The Jets are back.
Yes.
Soft should have been live for the game. Well, next time Michigan's in a big game, we'll have you go live. Don't know if that would work out. Bill Belichick to the Bills.
I saw that.
Me and Nolan talked about this. Bill to the Bills. I don't think so. I think Bill's out of his prime as a coach. To be honest with you, I think he's more worried about a 23-year-old than he is anything else. So I don't even think the Bills would entertain it. But I mean, you have Josh Allen, so that's going to be the biggest thing. There's going to be a lot of names thrown out there. It'll be interesting to see kind of what direction they go in. Brian Daboll's name's been thrown out there because he was the offensive coordinator before he took the Giants job. So, and he really did great things with Josh Allen. So, do you put that in there? Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator, do you just promote him?
Yeah.
So they're going to have their pick of the litter when it comes to these things. But I don't think any NFL team's going to hire Bill Belichick. Just because I don't think they don't want to deal with the girlfriend. Good or bad, they don't want to. And if you ask North Carolina, they do their whole thing all over again. All right, so we have firings and we have hirings. The first hire was John Harbaugh to the Giants for reportedly 5 years, $20 million a year. Also, some other stipulations of like he's going to report straight to the Maras and kind of go around the GM and that kind of thing, which I think is good because to me, John Harbaugh is a great football mind. He knows how to get it done, so you do that. The negotiation was a long process, but it got done. Look, they have a good young core, and he's a guy that comes from a great culture with the Baltimore Ravens. Part of that culture, Super Bowl champion. Good for him to be rejuvenated with a young quarterback. You have a young running back coming back from injury. You have a young wide receiver coming back from injury. The defense has pieces all over the place, especially the defensive line of pass rushing. So, I mean, this is the type of guy that you look at and you go, this is maybe what he needed for another little second stint in the NFL.
Yeah, I think the Giants really are just a few, draft picks or trades away from being a pretty good football team. They definitely have the foundations, I would say. And then you throw a guy who is experienced as John Harbaugh, who's been in the biggest games, to kind of navigate this whole process. Even if he doesn't win there, I think he'll set a really good foundation for whoever comes next. I like this. I think this is. I mean, I don't love it because I have to play these guys twice a year.
Yeah.
But I think this is a great hire. This is a great place for this young, unexperienced core to be led by someone who's so experienced.
Well, I think the other thing too is the Giants in the last 10 years have become a laughing stock, and it was never historically has been that.
Yeah.
They've been kind of a revolving door of coaches just because they've hired some buffoons. But they went out and they got a man, right? Like they got a guy that can establish a culture. They haven't had that since Tom Coughlin, and that worked out for 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
So, I think the Giants, when you look at it, John Mara's going through some health issues. I think he looks at it and he goes, look, we have to get back to what the Giants are. Who are we? We got to get a tough guy that, comes in here, leads this team. They've been most successful with Bill Parcells and Tom Coughlin. 2 guys that don't mess around, very strict on what you got to do, figure it out. They're tough coaches. John Harbaugh is exactly that.
Yeah.
So I think they're just getting back to the ways of like kind of what they are moving forward. Jonathan sent me a text. I have no idea what it is. It's something about Bronny James. I'm not going to entertain it. Nothing important. Maybe all-star voting, I think is maybe what it is. So, yeah, I think that's just what the Giants wanted, and they got their guy. Moving on to the guy in the middle, Kevin Stefanski goes to the Falcons, 5-year deal. So basically, it was looked at whichever job John Harbaugh didn't take is the job that Kevin Stefanski was going to take, either the Giants or the Falcons. These were kind of the 2 jobs. So if John Harbaugh would have went to the Falcons, Kevin Stefanski would have went to the Giants. But he ends up with the Falcons. I think it's a good hire just based off of he is an experienced coach. He's a good coach. There's good young pieces. The offensive line's good. You have weapons on offense. You kind of just plug in a quarterback. There was always talk that Kirk Cousins could go to the Browns, the last couple of years. Is that Kevin Stefanski wanting him? So, we'll see how that goes. But I think it will work out for the Falcons. An experienced guy, a guy that can kind of come in and fix some things that need to be fixed.
Yeah, I think too. It's like Kevin Stefanski, is it 2-time coach of the year?
2-time, yeah.
Yeah, so he's a great coach. He was in a really bad spot. He has done the most in Cleveland out of any coach, probably in the last maybe
since
ever.
Bill Belichick.
Yeah. So, and how long ago was that?
90s.
Yeah, I was going to say. So I mean, 30 plus years. Um, Kevin Stefanski. I think again this guy. I think he is one of the best coaches in the NFL. He's a great play caller. He's not. I mean, he's decently young, so you can have him for a while in Atlanta. And like you said, they got to figure out the quarterback situation. I wouldn't love Kirk Cousins being my quarterback. Michael Penix is a little bit more enticing, but I would say maybe go and try to get trade for someone or draft someone that you believe in. I think this upcoming draft isn't super quarterback heavy, but there are some guys who are good quarterbacks and could be great under a great offensive mind like Kevin Stefanski. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this hire. The what you said about who goes where totally makes sense to me. I would say that these two guys were at the top of my charts for um, coaches that are available right now. So yeah, this is a great hire. They got a young, good offense. Kyle Pitts finally had a good season. Um, this is the 1 year I haven't drafted him in fantasy, so that's great. But yeah, I'm super excited to see what they can do in Atlanta. I think if we get a quarterback or Michael Penix can stay healthy, I think they'll be a great team.
Well, that's the thing is, I don't know if there's been a coach in more recent history in any sport that's been more failed by his general manager than Kevin Stefanski. Kevin Stefanski goes to Cleveland. He has Baker Mayfield at the time. The Browns kind of screwed that whole thing up. And then they mortgaged the future on Deshaun Watson, who
Yeah.
didn't play the year before. They kind of mortgaged the future. That didn't work out. And then they throw him into this. Okay, your quarterbacks are going to be Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Shador Sanders, and Dylan Gabriel. You deal with it. So I don't know
And
if
they
there's
won
been a
some
coach.
games.
Yeah, I mean, and a couple years before that, he takes Joe Flacco to the playoffs off the couch. Took Baker to the playoffs. I think in his first year, I think that's when he won Coach of the Year. So, yeah, I mean, this malpractice what happened to Kevin
Yeah.
Stefanski
Yeah.
in Cleveland, without a doubt.
Yeah,
And he
definitely.
was able to be somewhat successful. So now you move on to the Falcons, where more stable, I would say, ownership with certain ways and certain things. Um, Matt Ryan comes in, so you get a whole new president of football, you get a whole new GM. So it's a clean slate for him. So
Yep.
I think it will work out very well. All right, now to the next guy. This is the newest hire of the day. This has happened within the last hour. The Dolphins hire Jeff Hafley, the Packers defense coordinator, is former head coach at Boston College. He stopped. He was like 22 and 26 at Boston College as head coach. He kind of stepped away from that and went back to the NFL. He's done NFL college. He's kind of bounced around. So I know before he got the Boston College job, he was defense coordinator at Ohio State under Urban Meyer. I know he's coaching the 49ers, that type of thing in the past. So he's very much an NFL guy. Did college, didn't like being the head coach there. So now, yeah, he goes to the Dolphins. I don't like this. I don't like this based off of a couple things. To me, if you were going to hire a defensive coach, Chris Shula, I said that last week.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of watch Dan Levitar. That's who he wanted. He was like, that's who you hire. He's Don Shula's grandson. He grew up in Fort Lauderdale. He's a defensive mind, and he's super young. And you hired Jeff Hafley? I mean, after watching the Rams defense last night, it's like, why doesn't somebody hire that guy?
Yeah.
He's young. He understands Miami's culture. He understands Dolphins football more than anybody else. And if you were going to go in the direction of a defensive coach, just give it to Chris Shula, because I get that the Packers lost Micah Parsons towards the end of the year, but their defense sucked the rest of the year. If your defense is that reliant on one player, then one, your coach calling it's not very good, or two, the defense is terrible. But oh wait, you look at it, the defense 2 years ago without Micah Parsons was like top 5 in the league. So clearly something wasn't going on. I'm sure the Packers are probably like, thank God this guy's leaving. So I just don't understand it. You have a guy who would have been a home run hire. And the biggest thing is, outside of the Heat, professional sports in Miami, it's like the fans always like get killed over and over and over again. To get the fans back to be like, all right, let's figure this out. It's a rebuild anyways. You're not going to come in and win right away. You hire Chris Shula, young guy, give him time, but I don't know. We'll see.
I think it's kind of funny too that like after Mike McDaniel, the Dolphins kind of do like a 180 and go after a defensive coach. Like the
Yeah.
offense thing didn't work. Let's go to the defense. And I still think they have some glaring issues on offense, specifically at quarterback. Also in the wide receiver room too, like Tyreek Hill. I
Yeah. I
don't even
mean,
know
who
what's going on
knows?
with him.
Yeah. Who knows after that injury if
Waddle is a good receiver, but is he the guy you want to rely on necessarily? Probably not. Now they do have one of the best running backs in the NFL, and Devin A-Chain, so that's kind of a plus. But like,
yeah.
there's just glaring issues on the offensive side of the ball, and necessarily play calling isn't what's going to fix that. You got to get guys. But I think it's just kind of interesting that they decided to go completely 180 because like the first thing you think of Mike McDaniel is offensive play calling, the Kyle Shanahan locking him in a room and forcing him to watch film or
Yeah.
whatever. So, um, yeah, I just find this interesting. I don't know a whole lot about him. Obviously, at Boston College, it wasn't a great record, um, but it is different. We talk about it all the time how the NFL head coach position is much different than the college head coach position, and especially at a school like Boston College, when you're in the ACC, so many other teams that
Yeah.
are vying for these recruits. So I'm interested to see what they do. I don't like you said this isn't going to be a team that wins next year or maybe even the season after that. It's going to be a rebuild and it's going to take time.
Well, I think too, it's like for the Dolphins too, is you finally fire the GM who had been there for through a couple head coaches, three or
Yeah.
four head coaches. You finally got that out. This was your time to clean slate everything, reset everything, go get a young guy like Chris Shula. Jonathan's asked, did they interview Shula? I have no idea if they interviewed him, but to me, this was just your time to reset it, get everything back involved. Um, get a young Sean McVay type guy in the room to do it. So Jeff Hafley's 46. He's coached with the Buccaneers, the Browns, the 49ers, at Ohio State, Boston College, and then he's been with the Packers since 2024. He's 21 and 26 as a head coach, only making there's 22 and 26, but only made a bowl game once at Boston College, and he won it. My thing with
So
Jeff Hafley is the one thing Kurt Herbstreit said this when they played the Bears last week in the wild card. He said Jeff Hafley wanted to go back to being a defense coordinator because he liked being with the guys and being in the room and like making the decisions. So now this guy's going to be your head coach, and he liked being like a coach and being in it with all the guys, and now you're making him your. I don't know. I don't know. To me, you had a chance here to do something that could really help turn the franchise around and make the Dolphins something that they haven't been in 26 years, at least in our lifetime. I mean,
so
the
I
Dolphins at
do
one point were the most respected
yeah,
NFL franchise.
yeah. I do have they did interview Chris Shula for the head coach position. They did. So I don't know what that means, but they also, I mean, they did a bunch of other people, Jesse
Yeah.
Minter and
Well, that's the funny thing.
Robert Sala, Joe Brady.
So I mean, that's the funny thing. Out of all the defense coordinators you could hire, you've stumbled upon Jeff Hafley. So that makes me think that like Jesse Minter's probably going to get a different job. So they thought we're not going to get him. Robert Sala might get a different job. So they thought we can't get him. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I just thought the Chris Shula thing was a home run. To me, just based off of everything and like you need to bring. I mean, like I said, at one time the Dolphins were a legit franchise in professional football. I
Yeah.
mean, we don't think about it now, because they've been so bad since Dan Marino and Jimmy Johnson was their head coach in the '90s. But at one time, Don Shula was the best coach in NFL, and they were one of the most respected franchises. So.
Yep.
It's just to me, it's like this is another revolving door, and Jeff Hafley will be fired in 3 years, and they'll hire an offensive guy. I mean,
Yep.
like that's where we're at. And next year they're going to be tanking for Arch. I mean, let's be honest,
Yeah.
they're not a good football team. So we'll see. All right, so now we have 7 jobs that are still open. There's been 10 total in this cycle, which I think the last time that happened was like 2021, around that time. So a lot of jobs. You have the Ravens, the Steelers, the Browns, the Cardinals, Raiders, Titans, and then the Bills. Clearly, there's 2 that stand above the rest: Ravens and the Bills. To me, I think the Bills is a better job just because I think Josh Allen, the fact that he can stay healthy over Lamar Jackson,
Yeah.
helps is where I feel a little bit safer to be a head coach. But they're both still really good jobs because when both are healthy, they're very good players.
Yeah, and I think too, there's in Baltimore, you kind of have this Derrick Henry issue, which not necessarily that he is a problem, but he is getting older. Um, so you have to be able to navigate that. Is he someone that he did very good this year? I can't remember exactly where he was at, but I want to say he was a top 5 in rushing yards this year. So, but there is a situation where you kind of have to navigate in Baltimore that you don't really have an issue with. Like James Cook is 26 years old.
Yeah,
Derrick Henry is in his 32, I think.
and had
So
fumble issues.
and has had fumble issues. So the time for Derrick Henry is kind of, I mean, obviously he is a specimen. Don't get me wrong. Like this dude is, you take everything that we know about the average running back in the NFL and you completely throw it out the window with Derrick Henry. He is a freak. But I mean, what? You're gonna have a 35-year-old running back, or so. Um, that is a situation you have to navigate. I also like the point that you brought up with Lamar Jackson struggling to be kind of healthy, and I just like where the Bills are right now much more than like again, like we said, the Ravens missed the playoffs this year. Now we can put that on Lamar not being healthy. But there are other teams, I mean, shoot, Sam Darnold can take the Seattle Seahawks
Yeah.
and to the NFC Championship. So I don't know. I like the Bills' job. The Steelers are good enough to get to the playoffs almost every year. I'm interested to see if that changes now that Mike Tomlin is gone. Maybe your team making the playoffs every year and just losing in the very first round wasn't a bad thing if you don't
Yeah.
end up you have 5 years where you don't make the playoffs. Cleveland Browns, I there's so many issues with that team. You have Miles Garrett, which is great. I said this at the beginning of the year, and I'm going to say it again. If I got this job, I would be looking to trade Miles Garrett for 1,000 picks.
Well, but that's
Because
the problem with Cleveland is it's like you're just going to be the coach. Like they're
yeah,
bought in on the GM. Like
yeah,
that's I mean they let Kevin Stefanski walk just because it's like
right.
we're going to live with the GM and the other problem is you have Miles Garrett coming up being like I don't want to be here and then the GM offers him a massive contract and he's like oh I guess I'll stay. It's like
Yeah. I would suspect that there are several NFL teams that are willing to foot that bill to get Miles Garrett, and then in return get some pretty valuable draft picks. Titans, like we said, Cam Ward is young. He had some phenomenal plays this season. A little bit more stability on offense would help him a lot. Raiders, they got Genty. They're probably going to get Fernando Mendoza. The Cardinals might be the worst team up here.
well
What
yeah.
is happening with Kyler Murray? And then every other, I mean, Marvin Harrison didn't score a touchdown his first season. And he was, I mean, was Marcus Wilson or Michael Wilson was
Yeah.
almost far more productive than him this year.
Well, their
Um,
tight ends more
Trey
far.
McBride,
Trey
Trey
McBride's a
McBride.
great tight end, but it's like you drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. 4th overall in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, and so far, I mean, I wouldn't say he's a bust, but like he hasn't produced at the. I mean, at Ohio State, that dude is unbelievable. So Trey McBride also. I mean, shoot, you can. I mean, they did decent with who was their backup?
Oh,
Was it
Jacoby Brissett.
Jacoby Brissett? They did pretty. Dude, that dude threw for like 500 yards in one game.
Yeah.
Like, there's some pieces in the Cardinals. I guess I won't sleep on it too heavy. But like also like name a person on their defense. I guess too. It's just like I don't know. There's a lot of holes you got to fix there, but they also have a lot of really good pieces. Trey McBride is probably the best tight end in the NFL. So there's
Well,
some
the
things to do.
the thing that hurts the Cardinals is if you are in like the toughest division.
Yeah,
You
that
play the 49ers twice who are injury riddled and still making the playoffs and winning
mhm.
a playoff game. You have to play the Rams who have Sean McVay. And as long as they have Sean McVay, you believe they're going to be great. And then they have this team in Seattle with Mike McDonald, and it's like, oh yeah, this defense is pretty scary, and they don't even need their offense on the field to score a touchdown.
Yeah.
So
Dude,
you have to deal with that six
yeah.
times a year. So yeah, I mean, it is one of those things. Jonathan saying Raiders are getting Minter. I don't know how much I'm going to believe of that because he was the same guy that said Mike McDaniel was going to the Lions to be their offense coordinator. That didn't happen. And he's saying Marvin Harrison is a bust. I'll give him one more year before I call him a bust, but he's definitely on that
Well,
project.
I'll give him a year where he doesn't have Kyler Murray, who is 5'5" as his quarterback.
Yeah. So, I mean, we will see. The Raiders, it's really wacky stuff. It feels like is going on there. Sounds like you're going to interview in Miami with Tom Brady instead of going out to Vegas. So I don't know fully what's going on there. It feels like there's not been a lot of talk of who they've interviewed either. The Steelers, I like the Steelers based off of stability. You're going to get time to build something. And if I'm the Steelers, they have some aging pieces. Maybe kind of rebuild. Just hey, if you're bad for 2 years and then you're able to build it back up and kind of figure it out. They have some aging pieces all over their team. Their biggest thing is they need a quarterback. Titans, I don't think could be terrible with the division.
Yeah.
The Texans, I mean, that defense is good, but if you're able to score on them, I think you're fine. The Jags had a good year, but I don't know if anybody trusts the Jags moving forward fully. And then you have the Colts, who everything other than the quarterback is somewhat decent. So the division's pretty easy there. But yeah, I mean, the Cardinals and Browns are terrible, god awful. I wouldn't touch them with a 20-foot pole. So yeah, we'll see. Jeff Hafley's kind of came out of nowhere today, so we'll see if anything else changes. All right, now moving on to the football we've watched the last 2 days. I guess we'll start with the Broncos beating the Bills in overtime, 33-30. Josh Allen, 4 turnovers, 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles. By far the worst game he's ever played in the playoffs, and they still had a chance to win the game, but they ended up not being able to get it done. You go to overtime, both teams get the ball. He throws a pick. Broncos go down, kick a field goal. Bo Nix also breaks his ankle on the second play of overtime. And this game just feels I don't know. After that, this game is like obsolete to me, kind of.
Yeah. Dude, and I have an inkling. I don't want to like 100% say this, but I have an inkling that because as you saw, a lot of the Bills players were very emotional. Sorry, I was looking at
Yeah,
Johnson.
Johnson said something.
Um, there there was there's a big sadness in the locker room after. I would say more so than a normal playoff game,
Yeah, Josh Allen's crying at the podium.
and I think that the idea was if we don't win the Super Bowl, our coach is going to be gone.
Yeah.
I think that the players knew that. So I think that's why you see such an emotional Josh Allen. Even like Deion Dawkins was very emotional. So I think that was kind of the sentiment. I know that our next slide is going to talk more about Bo Nix, but I am very interested to see what this team looks like without Bo Nix. Sean Payton has a lot of faith in Jarrett Stidham or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, right? So I mean, we can sit here and say that they're done if we go back, oh God, almost 10 years ago. We remember the Eagles winning with Nick Foles. So I think their defense is amazing. I think they have a great defense. So I'm interested to see what they can do there. And maybe it's just a kind of just stop the team from scoring and use RJ Harvey. Sean Payton's a great offensive play caller, so I'm you could probably put pretty much anyone there and they'll have some sort of success unless they're CJ Stroud. But yeah, I'm interested to see. It sucks. I mean, again, we talk about this. We've been talking about this all season. Specifically when the we found out the Chiefs weren't making the playoffs. The Bills had a real opportunity here to finally, this is a team that lost 4 Super Bowls in a row. This could have been their time. No Lamar, no Patrick Mahomes, but they don't get it done. And the Broncos are a tough team, dude. They have I think they have the biggest winning streak in the NFL right now. So, or at least did at some point. So yeah.
Well, yeah, like I said, that's where it's like we think of quarterback versus quarterback, but you have to think of the whole team.
Yeah.
Broncos defense played really well. Momentum shifts where it's like he fumbles, like they go down and score a touchdown with like 30 seconds left, and I'm like, you cannot have that happen. So they go up by 7, and then he fumbles the ball right before the half, and they're able to kick a field goal. So now that's a 10-point swing right there at the end
Yeah.
of the half. And they got the ball to start the second half. The Broncos did. They didn't do anything with it, but they had their chances. They just weren't able to capitalize on it. Um, but yeah, like I said, after the Bo Nix thing, it's kind of like I would feel even worse now if I'm a Bills player or or
Yeah.
a Bills fan, because it's like if we just would have got past that game,
Yeah.
we could have won the Super Bowl. Now we lost to a team that's quarterback can't even play the next game. So, that really does suck.
Yeah.
Moving on to the game underneath it Saturday night, this was a murder. As soon as the game kicked off, 41-6. Seahawks are scary, scary good. Sam Darnold, the oblique didn't matter. I think it's two things. The Seahawks are really good. They're playing at home, and the 49ers are just beat to hell. The fact that they were able to beat the Eagles is crazy to me.
I'm glad the Eagles lost because if I would have had to watch them get absolutely murdered by the Seahawks, I would have not been a happy person.
Well, that's the thing. It's one of those where you look at it and you go, "Oh my god!" It was just from the opening kick. It was over as soon as
Yeah.
Rashid Shaheed
Yep.
returned. It was over. It was done. Brock Purdy, there was nothing he could do. Christian McCaffrey, their defense is really good.
Yeah.
And they have offensive pieces, and Sam Darnold hasn't messed up yet. So it was just one of those games where it was just over before it started. It kind of felt
Yep.
like. All right, moving on now to the Patriots and the Texans. This was the grossest game I think I've ever watched in my life.
It was terrible.
It would be like, oh, they threw an interception. Oh, they fumbled. It was
was
disgusting. But the Patriots won 28-16. C.J. Stroud, gross. Drake May didn't play great either. I think that's the other
No.
thing. People are going to maybe overlook that, just because they are winning and their defense is playing very, very well. But this was just gross.
It was terrible. So I was listening to I can't remember who said it. But CJ Stroud finished with a passer rating of 28.6. If he would have every single play that he had the ball, taken the ball and spiked it directly into the ground, he would have finished with a passer rating of 39. He did worse
By trying.
He also threw a pass that caused one of his receivers to blow their ACL up trying to catch it. I mean, this was the worst quarterback performance I've maybe seen in a playoff game. He was awful, and we've had a lot of like discussion about CJ Stroud. All he has to do is not mess it up, and they could this. He was so bad that this generational defense couldn't even help him out.
They tried their best.
They did. I think they sacked Drake May like 5 times.
Yeah, 5 times, forced a bunch of turnovers, forced a bunch of fumbles, just weren't able to always capitalize on all of them.
And then this is the guy who last week is taunting fans
after playing terrible there too.
After fumbling 2 times and throwing an interception. Taunting them like, "Oh, y'all real quiet." No, dude. You can't do that. And then he comes out here and I mean New England's good. New England's a good team. I don't have a whole lot of faith in them. I think if they do manage to get to the Super Bowl, I think either the Rams or the Seahawks are just going to blow them out. I honestly think. I mean, I know that we're a little bit ahead of ourselves, but I mean, we have to see what Denver looks like without Bo Nix. But I don't know. See, Houston's got to do something at quarterback because he's just not cutting it. I am officially, and it's so crazy. Do you remember his rookie year?
No, he's so good. Everybody's like,
he
"Oh
was
my God,
unbelievable.
could he be the next one?"
And he has gotten figured out so hard, and he is so errant, and he is just I'm going to say this right now on the podcast. He is a bad quarterback. Yeah. He's not average. He is significantly below average quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't played good. Jonathan says typical Ohio trash. But yeah, I mean, to me, it was always funny because his rookie year he was great. Bobby Slowick was his offensive coordinator at that time, and Bobby Slowick was like, everybody's like, "Oh my god, this Bobby Slowick guy, like he could be a head coach someday."
Yeah.
Last year, he doesn't look good. They blame it all on Bobby Slowick. They fire
Yep.
Bobby Slowick, bring in a new offensive coordinator, and he's even worse. Um, so yeah, it's just one of those things. All you had to do was just play decent.
I would have
Uh,
thrown in. What's their backup's name?
Davis Mills.
Yeah, I would have thrown him in.
Well, that's the argument too. It's like, do you not?
I
Because
mean, at least when CJ Stroud was gone, he took care of the football.
yeah, I think that's the thing is you just needed to play clean and somewhat decent.
That's all you
Uh,
have to do when you have a great
with that
defense.
when you that defense, it's like basically just do what Trent Dilfer did for
Yep.
the
Yeah,
2000s Ravens.
exactly. It's exactly what
Just
it
do
is.
that. He wasn't able to do that, and now the Patriots, move on. All right, moving on to the last game of the night or of the weekend and of last night. The Rams defeat the Chicago Bears 20-17 in overtime. This game was tough as a Bears fan because last night we were actually better than they were, and I think that's
I
what
agree.
sucks. We came out, played them tough. Defense phenomenal. That looked like damn near the '85 Bears defense. Um, when you looked at everything and how they played, it's just I. What I'll say is they had the playmakers and we didn't. They had it on defense clearly with the interception there at the end, and then they had the pass to from Matthew Stafford to Devontae Adams.
Yep.
And that pretty when you have the playmakers to make plays like that consistently and all over the field, the Bears have a playmaker to make plays, and his name's Caleb Williams. Makes one of the greatest throws. After he made a great throw last week in play, everybody's like, I don't know if you can top that. He does it again, makes it even better, but he can't be the only one that does it all the time. So it just sucked, but it was one of those two where I wasn't totally mad because it was like one of those where it's like coming into the season, it was like, can we just be better than what we were? Can he develop as a quarterback? Maybe, get above 500. All those things happen. We end up winning the division in a very tough division, beating the Packers twice, once in the playoffs, playing with the Rams, who potentially can go to the Super Bowl. I don't know. It just felt. I think that's the thing. It was just a great ride. It was such a fun ride. I know it's what Jerry told me too. He goes, it was just such a fun ride, and it's one of those things where I'd much rather have it happened, and it sucks it ended that way. But I'd much rather that it happened than not happen at all. Because it was fun. It was one of those seasons where it just felt good to have like meaningful games again
Yep.
and be a fan of meaningful games. But like Jonathan said down here, this is a great comment. Same with Josh Allen. Can't win throwing 3 picks. You just can't. And I think that's the biggest problem too is like when Caleb Williams is off script and makes crazy plays, it feels like it goes right. The times where he tries to throw it to where he thinks the receiver is going to be, and he said it was miscommunication on the last play. That's when like interceptions happen. He had one of those against the Packers with Luther Burton, didn't go the right way, ended up in a pick. So it sucked, but it was a fun ride. It's a bright future,
Yep.
but I do have a grimace though with a lot of fans being like, they'll be back. I hate that they'll be back. I absolutely hate it because there's no guarantee in the NFL that they'll be back.
Yeah.
Dan Marino thought he'd be back after his second year going to the Super Bowl. Didn't happen. Doug Peterson thought he'd be back after winning the Super Bowl. He thought, oh, we'll be back. Didn't happen. Joe Burrow thought he'd be back after, going to the Super Bowl. Didn't happen. The Lions thought they'd be back after winning 15 games last year. Oh, we'll be back. They didn't even make the playoffs. So I hate the they'll be backs. That thing irritated me because a bunch of Bears fans were like, oh, we'll be back. There's no guarantee. No guarantee. The Packers are out for blood more than ever. The Lions are going to be out for blood more than ever. We have to play a first-place schedule next year. The Vikings, Kevin O'Connell, you think is going to figure it out eventually. So it's like they'll be back. I hate that. I just hate it because the Eagles thought they'd be back this year.
Yep.
There's no guarantee. The NFL, you have to take advantage of your time and place. Not saying the Bears would have won the Super Bowl and won it, but sometimes you have to take advantage of it because you never know.
I think if they can get past the Rams, obviously you have to figure out the Seahawks or whatever, but
I think we would have got murdered versus Seahawks.
Yeah, maybe. That defense is unbelievable.
Because their defense is so good.
Yeah.
And, we need pieces on our defense. I think they'd have been able to run the ball, and they'd been able to make plays, and they would have been at home. So I think all those things. But yeah, I like I said, I hate that they'll be back because it's
Yeah.
like you don't know in the NFL. The window
Yep.
closes so much. The future's bright. Like, but there's no saying we go 9-8 next year and we don't make the playoffs. You know what I mean? But look, I think we're going to be good moving forward. I think we have a foundation built, a coach that's very good, quarterback
Yep.
that's very good. Um, we just got to, defensive pieces and figure that out. But yeah, they'll be back. I hate it.
It I agree with you. And I was a Bears fan for about a week, 2 weeks, I guess. Bears, Packers, yeah. So, it was nice, that play that he made to tie the game. That's I said this last night. I'm going to say it again on the podcast. That is probably the best play I have ever seen. He was running straight backwards, turns around and just chucks it, and it's a touchdown. I was with about like 8 people, and we were all on the floor like flabbergasted at that play. Um, yeah, Bears fans should be optimistic. There was, I mean, Kyle Monangai is awesome. DeAndre Swift looks like he's been revitalized. Colston Loveland is a great tight end. There was last night. I just noticed there's a lot of drops.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that it's freaking 0 degrees in Chicago.
Yeah, no,
And
we
I
had a
know,
touchdown on the first drive.
yep, and I know, yeah, and I know Caleb Williams is not taking any miles per hour off that football, regardless of the temperature. But too many drops, too many turnovers. The Rams are a good team. I mean, the Eagles beat them by blocking a field goal. If it wasn't for that, we would have lost to them too. So, they're a great team. I'm excited to see the Seahawks and Rams play each other. I think that'll be a fun matchup if the Seahawks don't absolutely just destroy them. But I'm excited. I think whoever wins the NFC is probably going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean it feels like that. And the Seahawks and Rams will play for the third time. The last two times they played, it's been historic, great games.
Yeah.
The last game, of course, going into overtime. So, yeah, I mean, if you just, like I said, it's just one of those things where it's crazy because the Bears were better than the Rams last night.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the matchup versus the Seahawks, I think the Rams are better off against the Seahawks than the Bears would have been. It's just weird how the NFL works. And the other thing is sometimes in this playoffs, you just have to survive.
Yep.
The Rams survived last night, and now, you have Matthew Stafford versus Sam Darnold. It's kind of like now you're back to 0-0. Like, whatever happened before. But yeah, like I said, it was a hell of a ride. It was a fun season. As a Bears fan, it was just, like I said, just fun to have the feeling of like what it's like to be somewhat good again. Winning the division, beating the Packers. Like I said, it feels like a page has been turned in the right direction.
Yep.
But, thought kind of the same thing after Matt Nagy's first year too. So it's like I'm like just a fan that's just been abused so much that it's just like I'm not ready to declare that we're great or we're going to be good for the next 15 years because that's tough. But they'll be back. It's like you cannot guarantee that.
Nope.
Because the NFL, it changes so much. Like I said, the Lions 4 years ago were on the brink of the Super Bowl and didn't even make the playoffs.
Yep.
I mean, the Jaguars years ago were on the brink of beating the Patriots to go to the Super Bowl, and the next year they didn't make the playoffs. So it changes so much. You have to retool. The one thing going for the Bears, though, is they have a quarterback. In a league where quarterback play is kind of suspect, you have quarterbacks like C.J. Stroud in the playoffs. So that's a good thing moving forward, but they'll be backs. Hate it. All right, like we said, Bo Nix, broken ankle. Be out. He's out for the season, which means he's out for the AFC title game. Jared Stidham steps into play. Johnson said Big Ben to Denver. Not going to happen. More Drew Brees to Denver would be more realistic. And Creepy Photo says defense wins championships.
Defense wins championships when your offense isn't shooting itself in the foot. I think that we've talked about this a few times. And Texans, generational defense. Statistically, the best defense in like the last 15 years.
Yeah.
And if your offense is so atrocious, there is no defense that can that can fix that, and vice versa too. If you have a great offense, but your defense couldn't stop anything, you're going to struggle. But yes, I believe that defenses win championship, but you have to have consistency and limited mistake making on the offensive side. And so I think that um, the Broncos have a great defense. Um, like you said, they almost broke the single season record
for
for
sacks.
sacks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So um, their defense is great. Um, this could be a Nick Foles situation. I love bringing up the Eagles whenever I can, especially Nick Foles. This could be a Nick Foles situation. The Patriots lost to Nick Foles. So maybe Jarrett Stidham is. I mean, Sean Payton has said that there's probably 5 or 6 teams that he would be starting on if
we'll see come
yeah,
Sunday.
we'll see. But the Patriots haven't looked great either. So
No, I think their defenses looked good, but Drake May, like you said, the last 2 playoff games, he's not looked anything crazy. Um, the thing with the comparison with Nick Foles to me is like Nick Foles had a year where he was really good with Chip Kelly. And there was like
yeah,
proven productivity of like what 30 touchdowns, like 2
dude, yeah,
interceptions.
he threw 6 or 7 touchdowns in a game against the Raiders. I remember
Yeah.
that, and they took him out, and I was so mad.
Jarrett Stidham has not done that in the
No, he
NFL.
hasn't.
So I think that's the thing with like Nick Foles is a little bit far better than Jarrett Stidham when it comes to backups. But I mean, we will see. It's one of those things. Nolan saying other than CJ talking about the mistakes, I could have done what he did yesterday.
I'm telling you,
Studham
no,
must be okay for that. Studham.
no, I'm telling you, Nolan, you could have been better than CJ yesterday. If
I think
you would have
everybody.
every single time you got the ball, you threw it into the ground directly at your feet, you would have done better than you would have had a 39 passer rating. You would have been
That's
better.
a crazy stat that wouldn't be 0.
Yeah, I think that so I'm assuming that if every pass is incomplete, it is a baseline 39. And then everything below that is interceptions and stuff like that. That's how
That
you
doesn't
get
make
down
any
to like
sense.
0. Yeah, I don't know. I agree. If you don't, but what? Well, so you can't go to like negative, I guess.
That's
You have
stupid.
a negative passer rating.
To me,
Can you?
baseline should be 0.
Yeah. Like I'm not a mathematician. I don't know how they figured out the passer rating.
Passer rating, quarterback, QBR is all
QBR.
trash. Thank you, Trev. Golden star for you. Yeah, so we'll see how they play. I mean, nobody's really giving them much hope, so we will see. All right, we'll go on to this last NFL thing before we make our pick for the national title game. This happened back-to-back days. The play on the left, our left, I don't even know. Okay, so the play for the Broncos Bills was called an interception. Play for the Bears Rams was called a catch by Devontae Adams. To me, the exact same thing happened. Both players possessed the ball with a knee on the ground. Both defenders stripped the ball from the offensive player's hands after they'd already been on the ground. One ruled an interception, not reviewed. One ruled a catch and reviewed. I don't know. To me, this is a joke from the NFL standpoint of like, you want us to watch these games, you want us to buy into these games. But when we cannot define the rules in the sport, that's where you start to lose people.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the NBA, and their viewership is plummeting. And why? Because no one knows what travel is.
Well,
Because
and no one believes in like what happens in the NBA.
yeah, that's true too. But like, um, me and Caleb were kind of talking about this before. I see this as a simultaneous catch, meaning both players catch the ball at the same time, and the offensive player is hitting the ground, meaning that the offensive player is down by contact. Um, so this in the Bills game should have not been an interception; it should have been a catch, and this should have been a catch for the Rams too. But I think the Bills Broncos got it wrong. I think that was the wrong call. But if you have this play that's called the night before, and then you have an almost as soon as this happened, I said this is just the Bills Broncos. It's a catch,
I exactly said the
or
same.
I mean, it's an interception.
That's exactly what I said. How are you going to call it one way one night and the other way the other night?
And so I mean, it's what is a catch and what is but it is the rule. That is a simultaneous catch. Their offensive player is down by contact. That is the rule. But the NFL officials are not. And now, so this should have been reviewed. I believe.
That's my biggest problem with the Bills Broncos one. They didn't even review it. I know they're in overtime and it has to come from the booth and it's much different. But Sean McDermott calls a timeout to be like, "Are you sure you guys don't want to talk about this?"
Yeah.
You don't even look at, like, you just move on. It felt like, oh, we got to get to the other game tonight. Like, we got to move on from here. Like, that's exactly what it felt like. My other problem is if both balls hit the ground, they're calling those incomplete passes.
Yeah.
So therefore, it didn't like, even if their knee was down on the ground, if both those balls at this time would have hit the ground, they'd be like incomplete. They wouldn't have called it a catch. That's my other problem. I think that they're both catches by the offensive player, in my opinion.
Me too.
They both have control with the body part down. The football move thing's a joke because what technically is a football move?
And what can you do when you're fighting for the ball that's a football move? I don't know.
To me, a football move is catching the ball and getting down to the ground with possession. That's a football move. I don't need like four run, like I need him to step two and a half, 3 times. To me, these are both catches. It's just when you have it called one way the night before and the other night, that's
and they're nearly identical.
Yeah, they're pretty much identical.
Yeah.
I think what happened to the Broncos Bills game is I think it happened so quickly that they thought, oh, he caught the ball. Like the Broncos guy caught the ball. And if they would have reviewed it, they would have clearly looked at it and said, no, Brandon Cooks caught the ball. To where the Rams one was like it was like if it was slower. You know what I mean? It didn't happen as quick.
Yeah, and it also looked more like the Bears guy was stripping the ball from him.
As his knee was already down.
Yes. Whereas like the Buffalo and Broncos one, it looked like they both really just had possession of it. And then they both come to the ground, and then the dude that gets up with the ball is the Broncos guy.
Yeah. No,
and that's also because Cooks was hurt. Cooks got hurt on that play.
Yeah. Well, that to me, like I said, in my opinion, they're both catches by the offensive team. That's how I would have called it. There's no doubt about it in my mind. But you can't have it two different ways going into it. Johnson says Adams had control while touching the ground. Bills receiver didn't, in his opinion. Like I said, and that's the problem is there's so many interpretations of it. But when I have a guy with possession and a knee down, that's a catch.
Yeah, and so it's like, okay, so can both players have control of the ball at the same time? Or
that goes to like tie goes to the runner then.
Right. And that's what I kind of thought too. Or it was also like, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. And the weirdest thing that happens is that both these guys have the ball, and it's almost like the ball is getting stripped out of their hands
as they're going down.
When they're coming down. And in my mind, I agree. I think this is a tie goes to the runner situation. If both players have the ball and the offensive player hits the ground, the offensive player has caught the ball and he's down. And then when you strip the ball out, the play is over. The play's done. He's already hit the ground. You are touching him. He's down.
Yeah.
It's so I don't know. I think that it's hard to say like the control thing, because then what is control? When we think of control in the NFL, at least I do, it's the ball jostling around. Not that he has the ball, the other player also has the ball, so he doesn't have 100% control of the ball. But he's down with the ball in his hands and it's not really moving around until he hits the ground and then it's stripped. I don't know. This is going to be something that gets talked about because it's this big of an issue. Whenever something like this if this would have happened 4 weeks ago, we wouldn't even be talking about it.
No, it's the playoffs.
It's the divisional round. So this is going to get looked at because it's a playoff. It ended the Bills season, and it basically ended the Bears season.
Yeah, because the Broncos went down and kicked the game-winning field goal, and the Rams ended up scoring a touchdown on this same drive.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing for the NFL is like when you have this issue of like, you have to call it consistently.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have the issue of it's not consistent, then it's like, then you get to start the people to be like, I don't believe it. I can't understand it. You can't have the game, be determined on a factor like this. Like, to me, what's a simple catch? Control, 2 feet down or a body part down, catch. not the football move. And this goes back to the Calvin Johnson thing that
Yep.
happened like 15 years ago.
Yep.
That's what started it.
Or the Des Bryant thing.
Yeah, or the Des Bryant thing is it's gotten worse because
Mhm.
it's like you have to the ground can't cause a fumble, but you have to survive the ground. Make that make sense. It's like we're like instead of simplifying the game and making it easier, we're making it more complex. But it's just weird that you had the exact same thing happen back to back nights and it was called differently. And
and
that's the problem.
and what I have the biggest gripe with is that they didn't look at it for
For
the
the
Bills
for the yeah,
Broncos thing.
Bills Broncos, they never looked at it at all. Like I said, it was like, all right, Broncos have the football. The Bills call a timeout. Sean McDermott's like, are we sure we're not going to look at this? Are we sure? Where the Rams Bears, they did look at it, but I don't know. It's just to me it's a catch by the receiver,
Yeah.
but you can't have it called differently on the same nights.
No, and yeah, exactly. And it's almost like we said, it's almost identical, and we have two different calls. I am a fan. I don't care how long the game lasts. If there are, especially when the playoffs, like we saw, Sean McDermott's job was on the line. Look at the play. Take
Yeah.
a minute, look at it, make sure we like our decision, and move on. Um,
Or just give people an explanation for why we're calling
yeah,
it the way that we are.
yeah,
They were just like, oh, interception, Broncos ball. There was never like, the receiver didn't have full control going down to the ground, while the, defender was also ahead, you know what I mean? And he was the one that, and it, like just an explanation, but just to
yeah.
move on past it, like, oh, no, we're going.
To me, these plays are too bang bang to not look at it. I am not trying to throw the NFL officials under the bus on this. In live time, it is almost impossible to determine what happens. Look at it. Just take a look. If this is week 11 on at 1 o'clock on a Sunday, I don't care. But
Is
when
it
we're
really?
talking about the play, I don't.
Is it?
You know what? I was thinking. I was like, I thought they were going to call an interception, for the Bears, and I was like, dude, maybe the NFL is rigged, and they want the Bears to do really good because they're playing really like fun right now. Then everyone will keep watching if the Bears keep doing fun stuff.
I
But
mean,
you know,
it's just like I said, it's just one of those things. This is a problem for the NFL because it's like you don't want the same exact play to happen and called two different ways.
no, they'll look
Especially,
at it. There'll be something this summer.
yeah, they'll change. They'll make it even
Yeah,
more complex.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it was just crazy how it happened back to back nights in playoff games, and I would say for the Broncos Bills, it definitely decided the game. For Rams Bears, there was still a lot of game left at that point, but it definitely
But I mean, if
didn't
that's
help.
an interception right there, that's huge for the Bears.
Yes, without a doubt. All right, leaving the NFL, going now to the last college football game of this season, not of the year because we're in January.
Yeah.
But the last college football game of the season, Miami versus Indiana at Miami, Hard Rock Stadium. Indiana is, of course, the home team, being the number one seed in this playoff system. Miami was
Indiana is the home team against Miami in Miami.
In their stadium. I think Miami's going to get the away locker room on the away sideline, and they're wearing their white jerseys in their own stadium. This game kicks off in less than an hour on ESPN. Indiana was a even bigger favorite. They were 8.5. Now it's gone down to 7.5. Over under is 46.5, and you can get Miami at plus 250. To me, this game comes down to two things: line of scrimmage, who wins it, and does Carson Beck mess up? That's what this game comes down to.
Do you want to do Jerry's?
Well, I'll start with this guy. Who's on Irving watch? Michael Irving. That guy's going to be fired up either way. He's going to be trying to lay some.
Dude, the belt, that was crazy.
B to A. He's been doing that every game. Michael Irving's nuts. The guy's like 60 years old and is like, I think the best way to describe Michael Irving is go watch The Longest Yard. Where he's in that movie, and he's like at that point, he was like 45 probably at that point in that movie, he was like in his 40s.
Oh no, yeah, that
was like 2006, right?
Yeah, something like that.
So he was like in his 40s,
yeah,
in that movie, and he's just a freak then too, and he's like stayed the exact same way. And freak is a great definition to describe him. The great Deion Sanders story is like he was hanging out with Mike. They went up to a hotel room. Mike opened the door. He's like, "Oh, you want to hang out?" And he goes, "Mike, I don't do the things that you do." And Deion left. And so I don't know. I mean, he's nuts. Johnson says heard he ran all the way to Miami from New York. Yeah, SNL did a skit about that this weekend. They did a skit about Michael Irving. So I mean, look, he's going to be in Miami. He's going to be nuts. He's going to be sweating, jumping. Indiana better watch him and Mark Cuban. They should fight on the sidelines before the game. That should be like our prelim fight.
Yeah.
So yeah, looking at the game, Jerry picked Indiana to win.
Oh man. Well, first, there's a few things that I'd like to say. I know we're getting a little long here, but
no, you're fine. We got time.
One, what a great season it has been. We were in the dog days of June. We wished for football to come back, and we've been enjoying it. It has been a great college football season. I have never watched so much college football in my life. Mostly to be prepared for the show. But it's been a phenomenal season. And then so Indiana, what they've done this season is literally like movie worthy.
Yeah.
What they've been able to accomplish is unbelievable. Fernando Mendoza is going to be a politician someday. He is so energetic. His interviews are. My girlfriend loves Fernando Mendoza because she loves his interviews. And then third, what Miami has accomplished in the last couple weeks, from going to these guys shouldn't even be in the playoffs to they're in the national championship now. They have had some setbacks against Virginia, against SMU, but they've been they've been persistent. And they've persevered. So, with that being said, up front, Miami's defensive line might have actually met their match here tonight because this Indiana offensive line is the real deal. They are legit. There is a reason. I don't remember if it was last bowl game or 2 bowl games ago that they gave the offensive line like the MVP award of the game.
It was the Rose Bowl, yeah.
Yep, and the Rose Bowl. And they're legit. And Miami's defensive line is also legit. So this is going to be an awesome battle in the trenches. Where my decision is kind of made is looking at the quarterbacks. I trust Fernando Mendoza so much more than I trust Carson Beck. When we think about these two quarterbacks, in my mind, I go, Carson Beck, you just have to not make mistakes. And for Indiana, I go, Miami has to stop Fernando Mendoza. They have to stop him. They cannot let him run around. They cannot let him have these passes downfield. Like I say, he's a calculated gunslinger. He takes big shots, and 80% of the time they pay off. So with this being said, kind of a long-winded way of saying I'm going to take Indiana to win the national championship and solidify their probably, in my lifetime, the best season our best story season, best narrative season I've ever seen in college football.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's Indiana. It is Indiana, and that's just crazy. And that's the funny thing is like people look at it and go, these two underdog programs. Miami's not an underdog. Historically, they're not.
Yeah.
Historically, they would be a 25-point favorite against Indiana. Mm-hmm. But these times have changed. Indiana is here. They're the number one overall seed coming into this. They're undefeated. They're 7.5-point favorite coming into this game. It's just remarkable what Curt Cignetti has done. I think this game's close. I think it's close. I think Miami's going to show up and they're going to play, without a doubt. They want to prove some things. Where I agree with you when it comes down to the quarterback. My biggest thing that it comes down to me is the coach and coaching. I trust Curt Cignetti a little bit more than I trust Mario Cristobal. Mario Cristobal has done a very good job when it comes to coaching and doing all that. It's not that he can't get his guys up for the time, but when it comes to clock management and certain things, he's struggled in the past. So I think Indiana wins it close. I think Mendoza makes a play more than Carson Beck does. But I think this is going to be one of those games where Indiana's definitely going to get tested, and Miami's going to come to play. I wouldn't be shocked if Miami ends up winning it. But
I thought you were going to go Miami. I really
I
did. You've been on them pretty hard recently.
I thought about it, but I was just like, I don't know the way Indiana's played in this playoff. If they would have if it would have been like close games or like even 10-point games in their first two games, I'm like, okay, but just the way that they've played.
Well, the Oregon game really solidified it for me, I think.
Well, and Miami's kind of played. They've kind of played perfect for themselves.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if they play 5 good games and then they're ready for a stinker.
Yeah.
So, I don't fully know, but I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be one where we look at and go, wow, Miami's really good. And like I said, if Miami ends up winning, I wouldn't be shocked. I'd actually prefer Miami to win just because it's hard to believe to live in a world that Indiana won a national title before Notre Dame did in my lifetime. But I think it's going to be a good game. But I'm going with Indiana. Johnson goes, Miami wins. Is Carson Beck the greatest quarterback of all time? 3 natties? No, because the other 2 were as a backup. Nolan says parlay for the boys. Natty time only, right? I'll go with Tony to have 40+ yards. I expect the one running back, what's his name for Indiana, to get into the end zone.
Black or
the other one to get in the end zone.
Hardy or
I expect Mendoza to have 175+. Surratt to have a touchdown.
Hemby.
Hemby to have a touchdown. Surratt to have a touchdown. Charlie Baker to have plus 25 yards because he's gonna get a deep ball thrown his way once or twice in the game. So it'll be very interesting. Johnson says Beck has more time to prepare with not having classes. Give me Miami.
I saw that. Yeah, that is.
Johnson's going with Miami just because of the fans, and he'd like to see what they may or may not be wearing after the game. That's why he's going with Miami.
What is the freaking that tight end for Indiana? The white dude.
Charlie Baker.
Is that his name?
Is he a tight end?
The one who caught the pass against
Yeah, it's Charlie Baker.
I don't see him on here. Oh, Charlie Becker. Charlie Becker, yes.
Same thing. So no, like I said, I expect Tony 40+ yards, Surratt touchdown, Hemby touchdown, Barker 25+ yards, and Mendoza 175 yards plus. I don't know what the odds are, but I'm laying that down.
I'm gonna go. Let's see what this is. Fernando Mendoza 2 or more passing touchdowns. Mendoza to throw for over 200 yards. Malachi Tony 40 or more receiving yards, and Charlie Becker anytime touchdown. $10 gets you 42.
There you go. Not too bad. Not too bad. So yeah, college football season will be over.
After
this game.
Yeah, it's been a great ride. It's been a great season. But still got some more football.
That's right. Still have the NFL. Jonathan says here for the Bella Danger content afterwards.
What in the world could that be?
Who is that? What does she do? I've never heard that name.
Yeah, me neither.
She like a massive fan for the Hurricanes or something?
I think so, probably. Maybe it's like Michael Irvin's.
Is it Michael Irvin's wife?
Yeah, girlfriend or something.
Maybe. Okay. I don't know when we'll go live again, to be honest with you. We'll probably be live again Sunday. I don't know if we'll go live Wednesday. We can figure it out. Maybe if more stuff happens, like coaching-wise or something, we could go live Wednesday. But for sure, we'll be back Sunday. I think we should definitely go live in between the games Sunday. So Jerry will be back with us. But, yeah, I mean, it's been a great college football season. It ends tonight.
Yep.
Who would have thought? But with that being said, as always, thanks for watching.
Peace.